Hello, friends. My name is Robin. Welcome to Movie 25. Today I am talking about a movie called The Biscuit Eater. This is another movie that stars a dog, but in a more enjoyable way than Benji the Hunted, at least for me. So, this movie came out in 1972, and pretty much I'm just going to take you through my notes for this movie. The movie starts and it has the opening title cards. It says The Biscuit Eater. And right off the bat, I'm not super into the font that they chose. It's a very boring font. But it has very peaceful but catchy opening music. I enjoyed that. You hear the music again later in the movie. The main characters that you need to know are Lonnie, who's the main boy, I would argue, Lonnie McNeil, his dad, Harv, his mom, Mary Lee, his best friend, Tex Tomlin. I will tell you why his name is Tex in a little bit. Tex's mom, Charity, Willie, Mr. Eben, don't like him, and Mr. Ames. He's fine. Spoiler-free summary, there is a dog. They end up naming this dog Moreover, kind of like Rover, rhymes with Rover, they say. Tex and Lonnie end up with this dog because Lonnie's dad, Harv, is a dog trainer for Mr. Ames. He trains bird dogs, hunting dogs. And this dog that they end up naming Moreover won't do what he's supposed to. He won't learn. And so he trades the dog, the dad, Harv, trades the dog away with Willie. But Lonnie and Tex want that dog. Lonnie loved that dog. And so they trade Willie. Tex is a really good bargainer. Like Willie is smooth and sneaky, but in a friendly way. Tex is good. Tex knows how to do it. I'm impressed. So they get a dog and they train it, and there are some events that happen. Do they succeed in training the dog? In this spoiler-free summary, I'll tell you. And then there's an ending to the movie. The end. If you don't want any spoilers, don't listen. Good. So I'm mostly going to try to just stick to my notes because less than a page of notes this time. The movie was good. There were some funny quotes. So Willie is the salesman guy who likes to trade. He owns a gas station, but there's never gas in his gas station because the delivery's slow. So he'll trade you things, but he can't and won't sell you gas. So he says to some of the characters, "You look as good as new folded money." I've never heard that phrase because why would I? I was not alive in 1972. But it's really funny. I'm guessing it means really good because who doesn't like new money? Willie is an entertaining character to watch, but not one that I would want to interact with in real life. I do not like Mr. Eben. He is the man who lives, I think, on the property next to the McNeils, Lonnie, Harv, and Mary Lee. But they train dogs for Mr. Ames. Well, Harv trains dogs for Mr. Ames. Mr. Ames lives somewhere else. He has money because he pays for these dogs and someone to train them. Mr. Eben lives on the property next to them. He has, I think, a German Shepherd named Shep. That's what I'm going to stick with. And their dog came onto where Harv, Mary Lee, and Lonnie live. And Lonnie yelled at the dog to go home because his dog, who didn't yet have a name, was trying to play with them, and Lonnie wanted to train the dog, so that didn't work. But Mr. Eben is a jerk. He basically he threatens that dog. Like, if that dog comes on my property, I'm going to shoot it, which is rude. It's very rude, especially considering his dog is coming onto their property all the time. But he's not concerned about that. He's just concerned about coming on his property. Another reason, other than being untrainable, that Harv wants to get rid of that dog is the dog is an egg-sucking biscuit eater, which sounds not rude, but also very rude at the same time. I'm sorry you have to look at this light. I didn't move earlier, and now that's just where it is. So this dog that they eventually name Moreover will go into wherever the eggs are, and he'll just eat them. He'll just suck the eggs out of the shell. And that's not what dogs are supposed to do, according to them. So he doesn't want them to keep losing money on that. Around one of the times that Eben is maybe gonna fight Harv, Mary Lee says, "All fighting ever proves is that your fists are quicker than your brain." An interesting point that she brings up. One could argue that that's not true, but one could also argue that it is. So Mary Lee brings up some good philosophical discussions. Lonnie has some really good parents. Like, there were a couple times that I was expecting them to not be as supportive as they were, but they did not fail me. They continued to be good and supportive parent role models. So I really appreciated them. So Lonnie and Tex now have the dog. They name the dog Moreover because their plan is to keep the dog at Text's house. So his name is Text, like text in book. So we go to Text's house and talk to his mom, Charity. And Tex is like, if she gets to name the dog, that's the way to her heart. She'll love the dog. So they're like, hey, what should we name this dog? And she's like, let's look in the good book. Apparently, Tex is the youngest of 3 kids. She named her first 2 kids after biblical characters. So the first one was named Jeremiah, I believe. She had a reason, but she liked his story. She liked the name. And then she named the second one Obadiah because it rhymed with the first one. So she has Jeremiah and Obadiah. And then she named the third son Text because his aunt wanted him to be named that, because that's what a preacher preaches out of, is the text. The whole Bible is a text. So that is his name. So the boys are like, hey, what should we name this dog? Are there dogs in the Bible? And Charity's like, oh yeah, there's tons of dogs. So they're flipping through and reading dog passages, and one of them is not very fun and friendly. And then the next one started with moreover, blah, 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 blah. And the boys are like, that's it, moreover. She's like, that's not a name. They're like, yeah, it rhymes with rover. She's like, okay. So they named the dog Moreover, and he answers to it. So now I have a dog named Moreover. So Lonnie and Tex are trying to train the dog, and Lonnie runs. He has a hat on because it's bright and sunny. But the dog starts running, and he starts running after it, and his hat falls off, but he can't get it because Moreover is still running. And Tex is running after them, but then he stops and picks up his hat because he is a good friend. They have a really good friendship. They're like 8 to 12 range. I used to be good at guessing ages. I'm not anymore, but they're good friends. They're cute. Lonnie and Tex want to get a gun so that they can like shoot the birds that Moreover is supposed to be finding them. So he finds the birds and he points. So he picks up one of his front paws, and then they shoot a bird, and then Moreover goes to get it. Willie, the promise of greens, like collard greens. And Willie's like, see, if whichever of your moms makes some, we'll put some bacon in there. I like bacon with my collard greens. And Tex is like, you'll get your greens, Willie, but nothing was said about getting them cooked. Smart. A good point. But Willie talks Charity into cooking them for him. There's also a funny quote where Lonnie to his dad is like, are you afraid of Mr. Eben? Because Mr. Eben is a jerk. And the dad's like, Lonnie, I ain't scared of nobody but God. And maybe your mother. But don't tell her that. It's funny. He made me laugh, so I wrote it down. So Harv is training these dogs. He has a prize dog that he trains named Silverbell. Mr. Ames' best dog. Harv has trained her really well. So they're going to compete. But Lonnie and Tex have been training Moreover. They want him to compete also. And they didn't tell Harv that they wanted that to happen. And the contest was like the next day. So Charity mentions it to Harv and gives him Tex money. But Harv is like, I'm sorry, Charity, I can't take his money. They're just going to lose. And Charity's like, let them learn that. Their hope that they feel and their dreaming is worth more than that prize would be to you when you win. So that was nice. But he's like, no. He goes home, he talks to Mary Lee and Lonnie, and he's like, Lonnie, you didn't tell me. How dare you? Blah, 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 blah. But then in bed, Mary Lee tells Harv why Lonnie hadn't told them. And it was something like Lonnie was afraid he wouldn't be able to raise the money to get enough money to enter for his share. And Harv was like, I've never denied that boy. Because they're really good, supportive parents. I mean, you can still deny your kid and be a great parent, but their kid seems to want reasonable things that are within their realm of affordability. So the next day they go, it's a contest, get Tex money, get Tex, forgotten to bring more over dog food. And so Tex is like, no, we can get food. We can just get the best food starts in the kitchen and ends in the kitchen. So we can get him some food from there. We'll just wash dishes. So Tex is washing dishes. And while he's washing dishes, the men, including Harv and Mr. Ames and a few other guys, are out at the table joking. And Mr. Ames says, yeah, if your son beats you, you'll be out of a job. I'll have to fire you. Ha, 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 ha. And Harv is like, ha, ha, as long as it stays in the family. And they're joking because that's what they do. Harv is not going to get fired. He will still have his job. Mr. Ames loves him. But a waiter hears that, goes back to another waiter in the kitchen, and tells him that if Moreover wins, Harv will get fired. And Tex hears that and is very sad because he does not want his best friend's dad to lose his job. So he tells Lonnie, and Lonnie is very sad. So basically, they throw the competition. They lose. They call off the dog when he was supposed to be going to go do something when they're competing again. Because technically, it's Tex's dog. So Lonnie's like, it's up to you. But Lonnie's the one who tells him what to do. So then Tex is like, you know what you need to do. And so he calls the dog a biscuit eater. And that has been made out to be this big, big insult. It's not, but with the inflection they call the dog a biscuit eater, it's kind of insulting because they just like spit it out at him. Like, you biscuit eater. And so then Moreover gets sad. And then I got really sad. And the boys were so sad. It was just overall a very sad time. Like, it was so sweet. Their motivation was so thoughtful. But it was still really sad. So they go home and Harv is like, I'm so disappointed in you boys, Lonnie. Why would you do that? That's just such a disappointing thing. If you thought you were going to lose, just lose. And Lonnie doesn't say anything back to him. He just looks sad. So Moreover, he's sad and he won't eat. But then I think they kind of get him to eat. But then Moreover runs away. But it's like multiple days that he won't eat. And Cherry's like, he'll eat when he's hungry. It's just like kids. He'll eat when he's hungry. But it'd been like 3 days and he hadn't eaten. But I think Lonnie and Tex did, and they were calling each other biscuit eaters to try to make the dog feel better. And Charity was like, don't be calling me. I know why you're doing it, but the dog doesn't. He's just confused. So maybe take him over to eat by putting eggs and biscuits, but also maybe not. I honestly don't remember that specific part. But I did pay attention. It was a good movie. So Moreover kind of runs away, and he ends up in Mr. Eben's barn. And Mr. Eben is a jerky man. So he's like, you're going to eat eggs? Yeah, you will. And he locks him in the barn and has him eat bad eggs. Like maybe not poisoned eggs, but maybe poisoned eggs. And so then the dog is locked in the barn, sad, laying on the ground. So Tex followed the dog and heard what was happening. So he tells Harv and Lonnie, they go get the dog. And the dog, they have the dog laying in front of the fire in Harv's house. Harv goes to tell Charity where Tex is because Tex is like, I can't leave. I can't leave him. And he's like, yeah, okay, I'll go tell your mom. A good call. So Tex is on one side of Moreover and Lonnie's on the other, and they're there all night and they're so sad. But then in the morning, Moreover starts licking Tex's face. And Lonnie's like, look who's been licking your face. He just started licking. It's not like Tex had missed a lot. But that's how the script was written, so that's what they did. So he's better in the morning, and we're so happy. Yay! But Mr. Eben was still a jerk, and Harv is not one to keep putting up with that. So he ties up Eben's dog, whose name I think is Shep, but again, not really sure. He ties up the dog. Eben rolls up in his car and is like, give me my dog. And Harv is like, nah. So they fight. They have a physical fight. They're fist fighting. And he's like, I didn't make the dog eat bad eggs. You knew what you were doing, buddy. He's a dog. He's not going to check their goodness. So it's just Eben with his dog tied up and his vehicle there. And then it's Harv fighting with Tex, Willie, Mary Lee, and Lonnie all watching. And Lonnie cheers. He's like, get him, Dad. And then the mom is like, and that's funny because I would not have expected that from her. But she is a sort of wife, so yeah, I guess. And I think like Willie cheers, and they're just all cheering for Harv because Mr. Eben is unkind. And then Eben's face goes down into the mud, and it doesn't really make noise. I was expecting like flat or plop, and it's just this very quiet noise, which might have been more realistic. But in a movie, I expect a louder noise when that happens, so I don't know. Moreover, no longer sucks eggs. That egg experience taught him not to, I guess. Like they tested him with eggs. He did not. He sniffed and he walked away. Willie still doesn't have gas at his gas station, which I've mentioned earlier that he doesn't, but it's true. He doesn't. Ames tells Harv that as long as he is living and has a job, Harv will also have a job. Harv asks Mr. Ames if they can retire Silverbell while she's a champion. And Mr. Ames is like, yeah, I think that's a good idea. But we're going to need another good of Moreover. So maybe we'll have to work out a deal. And Lonnie and Tex smile. And it's a happy ending. The end. So Daniel's review was, I saw that there were chargers. And I don't actually know what that means. So I feel like I wrote some word wrong. Children! That's probably children, very misspelled. There were children. And they had a dog. And they liked calling each other Biscuit Eater. That's not actually true. They did do that in that one scene, but it's not because they wanted to. Okay, I said, this is the kind of dog movie I can get behind. Stuff happening, people talking, a couple dogs being cute, a few more background dogs, nobody dies or gets abandoned. Honestly, I think I'd be willing to watch it again in like a month, which for me is really good. I gave it a 7.35. I don't quite know why, but I did. Because 8 feels like the peak of movies, but 7 felt too low. It's similar to how I made a decision last time, I guess. But it was really good. I enjoyed this movie. I would recommend it if you haven't seen it. Or even if you have seen it, just watch it again. Because it's a good movie. So that was The Biscuit Eater, which came out in 1972. I am Robin. Thank you for listening to me talk for like 20 minutes. I will see you later. Bye.